Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pivot Point DFS, presented by FanDuel on the Believe Network, part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network. I am your host, Keith Cork, and man, it's been a long time since I've done two podcasts in one day, but here we are, friends. We are switching gears. Our NBA slate has started. Not looking great over there for me, I will say, but it's early. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of time left. But we are switching gears to NFL. And we're talking week 10 NFL DFS. And it's, the midway point. We just finished week 9 out of 18 weeks, of course. So I am going to do a little bit of a kind of broad reaching just review of how we've been doing, how I've been doing, just an honest kind of big picture type thing. Hopefully it won't take too long, but the review portion is going to take a little longer than it typically does. So if you want to fast forward to what's happening this week and just want to skip over all this, go ahead, 35 minutes or so, pop on over there and I'll see you there. Otherwise, let's get straight to it. Let's talk about what happened in week 9. Not a good week. Right? I mean, it felt worse when it was happening than ultimately when I went back and reviewed it. Really wasn't that bad. Okay, and I'll explain what I mean by that, but we were right about some things, wrong about other things. We were more wrong than right. And ultimately, there was just a couple of guys that you really needed to have in your lineup, which I did not. To hit the money line and to give yourself a chance to win. So let's get to it. For the SPY, the winning lineup, and we had, we were on Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Monangai, Brian Thomas Jr., T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Brock Bowers, Kareem Hunt, and the Los Angeles Rams for the defense. Yeah, I mean, I'm mentioned all of those guys except for T. Higgins. I wasn't on T. Higgins. That was probably the one big miss there for me. Obviously we wanted to stack that Chicago game. I actually ended up stacking DJ Moore with Caleb Williams. I felt like that was the right move given the price point and everything. And that turned out to work swimmingly and great for me. And Monangai, of course, was fantastic, but I did not land on T. Higgins. I wanted Jamar Chase. I was so adamant about that I guess I missed the forest for the trees. I don't really feel like that bad about it because T. Higgins has been really up and down this season, but if they're going to double Jamar Chase and put one corner on T. Higgins, it makes sense that T. Higgins is going to go off if teams are going to continue to do that. So unfortunately, we don't really get the hand tipped beforehand what coaches are going to do, but that is what happened in this game. The Bears were just adamant about not letting Jamar Chase get off. He still had a decent enough game, but it was T. Higgins. It was the T. Higgins show for sure. But everyone else, on this roster, we touched on. I didn't really talk about BTJ. I don't think very much on the last pod, but with no Travis Hunter there, he was a guy that I was considering. I ended up with him, I think, in at least one of my lineups, and that didn't work out. As you can see, he got an 8.5 points, DK points, but didn't sink this lineup. This lineup ended up winning. For the screen pass, there's only 237.18 for the winning lineup for that one, by the way, which is kind of crazy. But for the screen pass, we had a much higher score of 253.3. So that was interesting. Caleb Williams again. Caleb absolutely went off, had a fantastic game. Like I said, I had him in at least one lineup. I think he just won, but it was a good one. Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Monangai, Jamar Chase was in this lineup. Drake London was another guy I missed. We'll talk about it, but 6,400 for him. Olamide Zaccheaus, never would have got on him, honestly. Brock Bowers, Travis Etienne, and the Minnesota Vikings. Brock Bowers, of course, is the one piece that marries these two. He was only 5K. Such value there. Missing on that value for me. I somehow ended up with it's because I was so adamant on getting Tyler Warren into my lineups. I did not end up on Brock Bowers, and for that very reason, I missed out on the best value play on the slate. And really, that kind of sunk me. That was the end of it right there. So, all in all, really, it was just one bad call. But let's talk about it. What's the chalk? The chalk plays for the running backs this last week. Kyle Monangai, easiest call in the world, 72% owned. But yeah, he absolutely smashed. Christian McCaffrey, Travion Henderson, Kamani Vidal, and Tyrone Tracy Jr. You can see we faded the right people here. We faded Vidal. We faded Tyrone Tracy. So great calls there. The two I was on in all my lineups, I'm pretty sure, is Kyle Monangai and Travion Henderson. I think I might end up with McCaffrey in one of my lineups as well. I think I did. And it was The right call. I had the running backs right in this one, and we knew what the chalk was going to be. We called the right chalk to eat. I feel fantastic about that for sure. This week, the running backs are a little bit more difficult, so we'll see how that turns out. For the wide receivers, we had Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Juwan Jennings, Parker Washington, Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr., Michael Pittman Jr., and Roma Dunze. Ooh, a goose egg for Roma Dunze. That is not good. I know I mentioned him on the pod. Like I said, I ended up playing DJ Moore just because of where the price point was and who else I could fit into the lineup around him. And yeah, Dunze, not going to put up a goose egg again. I can guarantee you that, but that's obviously not good. Nothing super surprising here. I'm a little surprised, I guess, that DK Metcalf was so highly owned. I don't really get that one. I know I was targeting that game. I did end up stacking that game, but I went with Warren, if you recall, at the running back, and I stacked the passing game for Indianapolis, which didn't work out, but definitely better than playing DK Metcalf. I was never really in on that. Everyone else, I believe, we pretty much touched on and knew where they're going to be. QBs and tight ends. For the QBs, we had Jackson Dart, Daniel Jones, Patrick Mahomes, and Caleb Williams. Nothing surprising there at all. For the tight ends, Tyler Warren was the top owned, which is a little surprising. I expected him to come in under Brock Bowers. I thought that was my pivot, to be honest with you guys. But Brock Bowers was 17.65%, so he was less owned, and he absolutely went off. So absolutely the wrong call. Theo Johnson, which makes sense now that I think about it. Didn't really have him on my radar before, but I get it. There's no wide receivers, and it's going to be the same case this week as well. Travis Kelce, although we'll talk about that too. Travis Kelce and George Kittle round out the top owned plays there. Nothing surprising there either. Top performers for the week for the QB position. Caleb Williams just absolutely crushed it. Joe Flacco in the same game absolutely crushed it, of course. Josh Allen, and they were the same, almost similar price as well. So you had extra 2 points for spending $100. It was the better move if you could to go to Caleb Williams, but Joe Flacco was totally fine as well. Josh Allen was next, then Justin Herbert, Geno Smith. Interesting. Nobody had Geno Smith, and he went off. Less people had Justin Herbert, which is kind of interesting as well, and he went off. Jackson Dart, Matthew Stafford, Michael Penix, Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Jared Goff, and Drake May round out all the top performers for QB. It was another week where we saw basically every QB go off, but I really could have cut this down, honestly, and just given you like up to Dart, because these are the guys that really kind of went off. Maybe actually up to Stafford, because these are the guys that really went off, and there's a significant drop here. But these other guys were totally fine to have as well. For the tight ends, of course, we have Brock Bowers absolutely crush it. Colston Loveland, which definitely a fluky thing, right? He caught that touchdown pass at the very end of the game where the Bengals just simply could not tackle him for who knows what reasons, because they're the Bengals, I guess. So a little bit fluky there. Kincaid was not really on my radar, and Sam Laporta really not my radar either. But he started the game really hot, and he ended up with a pretty nice one as well. So those were the top tight ends there. Tight ends were a little difficult this week for me, obviously. That's what really sunk me this week, as I said. For the running back position, Christian McCaffrey, and then Rico Dowdle, Kyle Monangai, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, Ashton Jeanty, Chase Brown, Bijan Robinson, which was not a good score for his price tag, Jaylen Warren, RJ Harvey, Travis Etienne, and James Cook. For the wide receivers, Drake London, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., Demario Douglas. Interesting name there. Nobody owned him last week. That's going to definitely change this week. Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Puka Nacua, Alec Pierce, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashee Rice, Andre Yoshivas. Again, another interesting one. Almost nobody had him. Olamide Zaccheaus. I don't know how people ended up on this guy, but they did. Maybe just because they're stacking that game. And then Parker Washington. Round that out. So, definitely Drake London came out of nowhere for me, for sure. Didn't mention him at all on the pod. Wasn't somebody that was really on my radar. I know the Patriots defense isn't the same as what it was, when they were a good team. Well, they're a good team again. You know what I mean? When in the Tom Brady era, and Belichick, but I didn't expect them to give up. What was it? 3 touchdowns to Drake London? That was crazy. Demario Douglas, yeah, no, I wasn't on anybody's radar really. But there you go. And then really nobody else. Well, Alec Pierce is a little bit. So Alec Pierce is interesting because typically was a long ball, all or nothing type of play, all or nothing type of wide receiver. He would get the long routes and the deep routes. But now he's getting stuff that's lower average depth of target. He's getting more work underneath. Really, really interesting guy there, especially now that they added AD Mitchell, who's probably going to slot more into that long ball. He'll get maybe 2 or 3 targets a game that Alec Pierce was previously in. So they're trusting Alec Pierce a little bit more in that offense. And that's something that's really interesting in development that we need to keep on our radar. But yeah, outside of that, obviously Yoshivas is pretty crazy. I didn't expect him to have a big game either, but kind of just call a lucky touchdown. Everything else, and I already talked about Olamide Zacchaeus. No, outside of people wanting to stack this game, I would not have thought to play Olamide. But I guess there's no Luther Burden, so maybe I should have thought about it a little bit more. Nothing else really jumps out to me. The accuracy report for this week: 12 out of the top 44 plays had double-digit ownership. And that's only 27.3%. So again, it's another week of low ownership among the top scorers. So we didn't really get super high. Well, they were high scores, but we weren't really all over the top plays. That could be a result of the pricing being more sharp, right? That we could see that trend continue, where it's more along like 25 to 30% of this of these plays are being double-digit ownership because the price tags are just too exclusive. You can't jam a lot of these guys in the lineups. Maybe that's what's going on here, and that would be my theory at this point. So maybe we will see that continue to be low. 3 out of the 4 of the top owned QBs hit 3x value. That's compared to 2 out of 3 last week. It was another week, 2 weeks in a row of just really QBs just absolutely crushing it. It really didn't matter what QB you played. So probably best to kind of spend down a little bit, but obviously Caleb Williams. Well, I shouldn't say it didn't matter who you played, because you should have played one of the top guys. As I said before, the cutoff was Matthew Stafford. Any of those guys really provided, a standard deviation kind of above the other, QB scores. But really, any of them were totally fine. 2 out of 5 of the top owned RBs hit value compared to 2 out of 4 last week. RBs, we faded the right ones. That's the one thing we got right this week for sure. 3 out of 9 of the top owned wide receivers hit 3x value compared to 3 out of 10 last week. 2 out of 5 of the top owned tight ends hit 3x value compared to 2 out of 4. And yeah, that was my big miss of this week. And then 43.5% of the top 23 picks by ownership pictured had 3x value. And that's compared to 42.9 in week 8, 47.6, 37.5, 48.3. So really not a lot of change there. 3x value, we might need to shift that to maybe 3.5x value or 4x value to get better insight, because it seems like 3x value is pretty easily achievable. And we're getting a pretty solid baseline there of around 5% of picks being in that range, somewhere in like, I would say 40 to 50 range of those picks being 3x value. So not a lot to take away from that. So we might have to change that for next week. My chalk calls for the week: Patrick Mahomes, yep, he was chalk. Caleb Williams, yep, and Jackson Dart, yep, easy calls there. Christian McCaffrey was chalk, yes. Kamani Vidal, yes. Jalen Warren, I thought would be more chalky. He was not. He was 10.8, but he was the 7th most high owned running back. So I'll count it as a miss, but it was really pretty accurate. Tyron Tracy, yes. Travion Henderson. I don't know why I put Travion Henderson. Kyle Mananga, yes. Puka Nacua, yes. Jamar Chase, yes. Amon-Ra St. Brown, no. He was only 9.8%, but he was the 11th most owned wide receiver. And in a game where you select 3 wide receivers at the very least to put in your lineups, that's still pretty chalky, but I will count it as a miss for me. Rashee Rice, yes. Brock Bowers, yes. George Kittle, yes. And Theo Johnson, yes. So we identify the chalk with high accuracy again. This has been the trend every single week. There's been maybe, I think, 2 weeks where I wasn't necessarily the sharpest in identifying the chalk, usually because some late injury news popped up that, switched around what was supposed to be chalk. But either way, we've been pretty spot on with that. So I feel pretty good with that process. My top plays, personally, I was all over Kyle Manangai. That absolutely worked out for me. Fantastic game. Had to have him. Couldn't really pass up that value. It's good stuff. Travion Henderson, he only produced 2.6x value. Didn't sink you, but it wasn't great, of course. Of course, we did see, oh God, I can't remember, the Terrell. I can't remember what the other running back is called as name now. He's a nobody. That's the funny thing. I mean, I knew he was there. I knew that it wasn't going to be all Travion Henderson. Terrell Jennings. There it is. Terrell Jennings ended up getting the touchdown, of course. He ended up getting the goal line carry. He had 11 rushing attempts for question mark reasons. They still did win. So maybe that sticks this week. I still like Travion Henderson. I have no problem with that call. It didn't work out. Could have easily found the end zone and paid off on that price tag, but didn't happen. Jamar Chase, yeah, he got 2.4x value. It was whatever, no big deal. My big call of the week was Nico Collins. Just 2x value. Really unfortunate, he did get most of his production with Davis Mills, who came in, but CJ Stroud got the concussion. Who knows what would have happened if CJ Stroud stayed healthy, continued to be the quarterback in this game. After CJ Stroud went out, it became very much just a defensive slugfest, not a lot happening. Again, I think it was like 12 yards he got with CJ Stroud. Then after that, he got the rest of his yards with Davis Mills. So I don't necessarily think you need to fade Nico this week, but he definitely wasn't a smash play. Ultimately, I have to chalk that up as an L. He still got 14.5 points. Would have loved to see him find the end zone. Would have got 3x value. Would have been fine. But 2x is not super great. My big miss, though, Tyler Warren. The most owned tight end. He was 1.4x value. Very difficult to win because Brock Bowers. If Brock Bowers doesn't go off, this doesn't hurt me as much. But since Brock Bowers at $500 less produced 30 something more points. I mean, I'm instantly behind a fifth of the field basically on a 1Z position. It was just not good. Wasn't gonna. It was very difficult to overcome that. And I ended up on the almost at the money line on a couple of my smaller entries, but it is what it is. My key pivots, I did play Kyron Williams. He hit 3x value. It was fine. Nothing crazy. Troy Franklin was another pivot play that I ended up playing. Didn't go off in this game, but of course we saw Thursday Night Football. Now he's going off. So didn't do it for me, but he did it after that. Parker Washington was another one I played. Yep, Parker Washington was definitely a good play. No doubt about it. I think he's still the wide receiver one there, even with the addition of Jacoby Myers. So I have no problem going back to him again this week. His price is still pretty attractive. He was only 3.7K here, though. I probably should have had him in more lineups than I did. But as it stands, I'm pretty happy I had him at least one. And then George Kittle didn't really do anything. Sorry, I skipped that. Did that again. George Kittle, he did 3.2x value, which was fine. No issues there. So I guess I didn't have Tyler Warren in every lineup. I had Kittle in one of them. But still, when you have Brock Bowers doing that, again, it's just very difficult to overcome. Other notes, mean cash line for the SPY, 167.52, which was actually a climb from week 7. We saw it reduce in week 8 for the first time in forever. That was with all those teams on bye. Of course, all the teams come off bye now, less teams on bye now. And now the scores are continuing to climb. Screen pass was high as well, 167.1. So, these scores are continuing to climb. People are continuing to get sharper and sharper and sharper as we have more and more data points. That's really driving it. It's not that the pricing is better than it was in the beginning of the year. We don't have soft pricing anymore. The other thing that is affecting it could be, injuries, of course, popping up and people being able to identify who the fill-in is and where the value opens up. So just people playing sharper. You really need one of the two guys, but ideally you wanted both of them, Bowers and London. You could have easily gotten both those guys in. They were not expensive. They were pretty dang cheap. You have both those guys, you probably had a very good day. I had neither. So I went heavy targeting, in the Indianapolis Pittsburgh game, and the Indianapolis offense was just not it. I think they scored a defensive touchdown. Jonathan Taylor couldn't get anything going. The run game couldn't get going, so they were able to just stymie Daniel Jones, he threw 2 interceptions, I believe, 1 pick six. So definitely a rough outing for my guy, DJ. I had a lot of the right fade calls, but my strong stands, they just didn't pan out. Yep, that's totally right. Yeah, it wasn't as bad after I reviewed it. Like I said, all signs really pointed to a good week. I should have had a good week. The process is still good. I just didn't identify identify the plays not to play. I didn't identify the plays I should be on. I mentioned Bowers. I intended to play Bowers, and then I got so caught up in wanting to be on the Indianapolis Pittsburgh game that I said, "What if I go with Tyler Warren instead of Brock Bowers? Because everyone's going to have Brock Bowers." And people, I think I was getting a little echo chambered as well. I was listening to people throughout the week, and this makes sense too, since the ownership jumped and he ended up being the top owned tight end. People were just talking up, what a great spot it was for Warren. I probably listened a little bit too much to all of that. So yeah, so I'm gonna trust the process here. I really shouldn't be listening to other people as much as I do, but I want to know what they say so I can know if I buy in or if I don't, right? Just like with the chalk. I know what the chalk is. Am I going to eat the chalk or am I going to fade it? Same thing when I listen to analysts, right? When they say things, am I reading between the lines? Are they saying things that actually make sense or are they saying things that are just content, right? Because a lot of people say things just for content. I don't follow those people, but even smart people sometimes will say things because they get talking and you start to convince yourself of things. And maybe it's not exactly correct, or maybe it's something that, um, you know, you don't necessarily fully believe. And so you got to be wary of that. And yeah, the CJ Stroud concussion, I mean, it's not the only reason I lost for sure, but it definitely did not help. Right. It definitely capped Nico's ceiling, I feel like. And that's my starting QB. I'm missing, 20-ish TK points. Bummer. So here's my performance in the SPY. I had CJ Stroud. I had Travion Henderson. I had Kyle Monangai. I had Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, Troy Franklin, Tyler Warren, Kyron Williams, and the Raiders defense. 115.76. Nowhere close. Nowhere close to that money line. My best screen pass, though, was Daniel Jones, Jalen Warren, Kyle Monangai, Parker Washington, Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, Christian McCaffrey, and the Raiders. McCaffrey and Pittman and Monangai almost, and Daniel Jones to an extent, almost carried me to a money line, at least to the money line. Daniel Jones ended up being a good play, even though he had 2 fumbles and he actually had 3 interceptions. I know I watched 2 of them that happened with someone, just the lineman jumping his passes to the flat, which are kind of crazy. But he actually had 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. A lot of turnovers there for Mr. DJ. So that puts me down 145 for the week. I am still up 25 on the season. And this is the point where I want to talk to you, about where we are and how we've been performing this season. Obviously, not where I want to be, right? I would love to see that, plus 2,500. I would love to see that plus 25,000. I would love to see big numbers, of course. And that's what we're going for here. But honestly, with the big picture, it's not bad. The big picture is looking good so far. I just want to remind you guys, the expected ROI for these contests is always negative because there is a rake, right? So we've all put money in an entity, which is DraftKings in this sense, or FanDuel if you play there, or Yahoo or wherever, takes a rake, takes money out of it. When they take that money out of it, the expected value you get back for the return on your investment, it can't be positive. There's no other money coming in, right? It's going to be negative. Given my entry pattern, ROI for an average player would be roughly negative 11.5%. So I think, was it 145 a week we're putting in? So 145 a week. Sorry, 145 a week times 9 weeks. We've put in exactly 1305, 1,305. So if we want to see what we would normally lose, we'd be down $150, right? We could see that happening for sure. My personal ROI is roughly 1.9%, which is 13.4 percentage points above expectation. Obviously, before this week happened, it was better. And even going back to week 5, if we were to do this analysis then, it'd be great because I was up, $300, $400, right? But as it stands, we are definitely significantly above, expectation. The spike weeks that we're getting are indicating that we're playing the correct lineup construction, that's really what's most important to me, right? We want to focus on process, not necessarily the results yet, because the results will come as long as we have the right process. And week 5 netted me a 266% return. So what we're looking for those big spike weeks, and when we make the big money. And we've had a couple of good weeks, right? Let's go back to this one here. We had a plus 135 and a plus 385, of course, right? So a couple of nice little spike weeks. It's really the plus 385 that's carrying us through, though. And that was the week. I mean, if you recall, we were like one little swap away from taking this thing down, man. That was it. And it will happen again. If we stick with it, it will happen again. But from what I'm seeing, I mean, in terms of like, I'm not trying to min cash this thing. We're trying to take this whole thing down. So, we've had 3 big up weeks and 6 down weeks. So 6 weeks where we've been down somewhat. If you look at my down weeks, they're not as impactful or bad, right? We've got obviously this is we lost the whole nut, that one. We had plus 135 and plus 90 over here. Minus 120, I didn't lose the whole nut, almost the whole nut. Minus 115, didn't lose the whole nut. We lost the whole thing in 3 out of the 9 weeks, so a third of the time. But ultimately, we're up, and again, that one spike week really carries us through. I would estimate for me, based on my performance and what we've been doing, I would think I would call myself a top 20 to 25% player in skill level among these fields I've been playing in. Just the cold hard matter of it. I think that's fair. And if you want to say 30% or whatever, that's fine, right? But I think we're in the top, at least top third. I would say the top quarter of players in these fields. Okay. So given these results so far, I think we do have a noticeable competitive edge. If we just take an average player and they just plop in, whatever, run their optimizers and plug in these lineups every single week, it would take them roughly on average, as a mean, 809 weeks to win the top prize. 809 weeks. That's a lifetime. It's a lot of time, right? If you have a mild edge in these contests, it would take you roughly 335 weeks on average to take down. This is to win the top prize. If you have a noticeable edge, 147 weeks. And then the absolute strongest players, if they have a just insane edge and they're the top 1% or the top 0.1% of players, they would win one of these contests on average every 34 weeks. Okay, just ran some basic data analysis there, some basic math, and that's what we came out to. Okay, so there's 18 weeks in a season. Are we going to go 18 weeks without getting a big win? Very likely. But the thing about it, and I have at the bottom here, the thing about it is that these results and these outcomes are stochastic. Oh, what's that word? Right? You guys know that word because it's very prevalent in this space. But it is an actual term, right? It's randomly determined, having a random probability distribution or pattern that may be analyzed statistically, but they may not be predicted precisely. We're playing probabilities. If we think we have an edge and we keep playing against people that don't have an edge, we have the better probability of getting these top prizes. We keep at it. Once you do, if we hit the top prize in this, I'm not going to take out taxes and stuff like that. Of course, there's stuff that we should definitely, think about. If you hit 25,000, you're paying about probably 8,000 in taxes, just so you guys know. But let's say we hit that big 25,000, jackpot. That's 172 entries, 172 weeks worth of entries that we win. And if we think we have a noticeable edge, and we're going to feel like we do if we do that, we should win one every 147 weeks on average, mean, right? But with it being stochastic, you could win 3 weeks in a row. There's nothing that says you can't. It's probabilities. The odds are very much against that. You could go 1,000 weeks without winning. It's a possibility. These are all possibilities that have different probabilities associated with them. Ultimately, when we're looking at how we've done so far, the sample size is very low. It's only 9 slates, okay? So only 9 slates, but what I'm seeing so far is encouraging. I don't think we have anything really to worry about. I think we have the right process. We need to keep, digging our heels in and trying to identify opportunities. And so that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do that by talking about week 10. Woo! If you guys played best ball, we are a month away from being done with the regular season. Well, 5 weeks actually, but pretty close to a month away. It's crazy. Crazy. Okay. Whoop. Terrell Jennings was up there. We want to know who Terrell Jennings is. All right, let's talk about week 10 and what's going to happen here. Interesting stuff. This is a tough slate. I will say that. Now, we just talked about how we have an edge. That may mean that we have an even greater edge because it's going to be tough for if you feel like it's tough for everybody to navigate. Unless we get some major injury news tomorrow, there's not really any clear, okay, we're going to plug this guy in. This guy's obvious clear value. There's none of that really. But there are plays that I like more than others. There are small, you guys can't even see my screen. There you go. I do that every time. Come on, guys. Come on, guy, for me. Anyways, so yeah, there may be small edges that we can identify that give us give us that leverage. So who's going to be the chalk this week? At QB, we've got some pretty obvious chalk. First, I want to talk about our guy over here, Josh Allen. Cash play. I'm not going to go to it. I don't think there's ever, unless we know, let me think about this. There's no value on the slate at QB. Literally none. I'm not going to spend up this way at QB. It's just not going to be what I do. Okay. But I can see it. I mean, it's Miami, right? It's terrible defense. Deflated team. That kind of scares me a little bit more than it encourages me because maybe Josh Allen doesn't feel like he has to do a whole lot to win. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is a James Cook game. I like James Cook in this one. So, could he rush in 3 touchdowns? Yeah, absolutely. My other question is, like, who are you going to stack him with, right? You don't really stack. I mean, you can stack him with James Cook. It's kind of a contrarian stack. You don't typically stack a running back with QB, but yeah, maybe, Josh Allen gets 2 rushing touchdowns and James Cook gets 1, and James Cook has 100 plus rushing yards. That's a good day, right? But for the wide receivers, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, they just called up Gabe Davis over here. So he's going to get involved. It's in some respect, I would guess. Kincaid and Knox. Kincaid's been having a really nice season. But who do you really want to stack him with? I just don't know. So, it's not really a play for me. The other spend-up option that people seem to be gravitating towards is on the Ravens, which I don't understand. But it's Lamar Jackson. And that it's not that I don't like Lamar Jackson. It's just Minnesota's not a pushover defense. He just had a really, really good game in his return. He is a little bit, underpriced than, what he should be probably. Probably should be in the 7K plus range like Josh Allen is. But again, who are you going to stack him with? People want to stack him with Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is going to be chalk also. We have not seen him, hyper target Zay Flowers. That's not something he does. You could play a naked Lamar Jackson if you can get there with your salary. But I like Derrick Henry too again this week. I mean, we saw Andrews catch, 2 touchdowns that last game, and that won me some money. I believe that was a showdown slate. But we can't rely on that week to week. So, again, I just, not for me. Not for me. Drake May is very interesting here. I like Drake May. I like this game, and we'll talk about game stacks as well, but I do like this game, New England at Tampa Bay. But Drake May is going to be chalky again. Probably, third or fourth most owned QB on the slate, which is not too bad. But just a string of really strong games before that last kind of dud a little bit. He had another dud earlier in week 5. But other than that, he's been, and week 1 wasn't great. But other than that, he's been really solid, 20 plus, at least 21 plus DK points. 6.4K is not too bad. It's a little bit expensive. I like stacking the other side with Baker Mayfield more, or already tilting my hand. But so I might end up with maybe one lineup with Drake May. Because I do like his receivers. His receivers, I like a whole heck of a lot. And I'll just go straight into that because I'll talk about these guys. But Demario Douglas, no Keyshawn Boutte. Demario Douglas coming off a huge game, already getting some really nice targets. Maybe we see these targets climb to 7 or 8. We see a touchdown at just 4K. Ooh. Stephon Diggs, still the wide receiver 1. Been saying that all season. Had to start slow because of the injury. He hasn't really gone off since, week 5. Putting up decent work, though. Double-digit DK points. Should see an expanded role there. And then you've got Hunter Henry, who is forgotten tight end again. He hasn't had a big week since week 4. Or, I'm sorry, week 3. He got 2 touchdowns. He's a red zone guy. I mean, if he catches a touchdown, he pays off. 3,500 is not expensive. So I like all those guys. So I do like Drake May because of the weapons that are around him mostly. The other guy people are gravitating towards, which I understand, I still don't really. I mean, Baltimore has struggled on defense for sure. Looked better against the Bears. They've gotten healthier, so I think people are just kind of going to this thing. And JJ McCarthy looked good last week, and his price point's 4,900. So I think really it's a price point thing. So I guess I'm not totally against it. I might roll a Viking stack out there because I do like Justin Jefferson at his price point here, and I do like Jordan Addison at his price point as well. So it's interesting. But not my favorite play. But I think JJ McCarthy will be chalk. For the running backs, it's just every single week you can just pencil him in. There's really no reason people should be off of it because he's going to do everything for his team. And I don't really think that's going to end. Even what are we expecting? Brandon Ayuk's going to come back? I know you guys who are you talking about? Click on the team. Come on, what are you doing? I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey. There's no reason again to think his workload's going to reduce. The only thing I was worried about at the beginning of the season was injury. That hasn't happened yet. Still, we have 9 more weeks, right, to play. So it's not off the table. And he hasn't looked good. I mean, he, with yards after contact, yards before contact, all that. I mean, it hasn't really been elite. He's not getting it's just the fact that we get a full point for a reception, and he's so active in the receiving game, in the pass game, right? Look, I mean, he's got not so good the last 2 weeks, but before he had a really crappy week 8, of course, we saw that. But 7 catches, 7 catches, 8 catches, 6 catches, 10 catches, 6 catches, 9 catches. That's 7 points, 7 points, 8 points, 6 points, 10 points. So as long as he remains active in that role, yeah, he'll always be chalk, and he'll always. The only issue is going to be his salary. Can you get there? I think we can on this slate. So I'll probably end up with at least 1, maybe 2 lineups with Christian McCaffrey. People are also going to gravitate towards Devon Achane. I do like this play. The price point's really attractive. They're going against the Bills, who have struggled against the run game. Achane, the best rusher. We also have Gordon, a little bit banged up. He's questionable with an ankle injury. Maybe they get Jalen Wright in there, but for the most part, it's going to be heavily relying on Achane again. And he's done everything for this team, man. So it's a good matchup. Very heavily involved offensive player. Team that is really weird because they're maintaining the status quo besides being 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 and 7. So as long as they continue that, his role should continue. He should be a strong play. No problem with that. I like his price point a lot compared to if you look at the running backs in this slate. Yeah, McCaffrey, Gibbs at 8,000, James Cook at 7,500. Then it's Achane. So he's the fourth highest price, but 7,400 is really not that expensive for a guy that's going to get elite level work. So I like Achane a lot. Another guy I like a lot, which is going to be chalk, is it's every time he's chalky. I like him. But Kyren Williams, I think he will come in underowned compared to what he should be. Look, no Fred Warner on this San Francisco defense, and they've struggled against the run as a result. They've given up crazy running games since Fred Warner's been out. To the Giants, to the Houston Texans. These teams do not have great run games, and the Rams have a decent run game. So I think Kyren's a whole heck of a really interesting play for sure at 6,600. I have no problem going there. Keyshawn Junkins at 6,500. I probably won't end up on him, but I do see the appeal here. Where is he? Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, the Jets just traded away their entire defense, right? They're not going to stop anybody. But I think Dylan Sampson's going to take advantage of this and get the ball, move the ball through the air. I think, Judkins was previously the appeal of Judkins was that he was just an absolute workhorse. He was really their entire offense. But, with little resistance from the Jets, I do think Dylan Sampson, and they're getting back Cedric Tillman also. So there's more weapons here now. Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yeah, he's listed as questionable. He's expected to be activated from and suit up. Okay, so he is expected to play. I thought I was right about that, but then I saw the IR and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm wrong. Isaiah Bond's out. Who really cares? Jerry Judy's still there. These are all so cheap. Oh God, 3,500, 39. I might have to end up on one of these guys. Oof. Really cheap wide receivers. I think I should toss these guys into my pivots here. Jerry Judy at 3,900, Cedric Tillman at 3,500. Even if Tillman doesn't get a full workload, it's against the Jets. And I think Cleveland, they're also the 2 and 6. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 2 and 6. I wouldn't say they're in it, but they're going to try to be competitive. There's no reason for them to. That doesn't happen in football, right? We don't tank. They want to develop Dylan Sampson too. So I like those plays. And so why do I keep saying Dylan? Oh my God, guys, I'm sorry. Dylan Gabriel, not Dylan Sampson. Dylan Gabriel. Mea culpa, my bad. This is why I need a co-host to correct me and say, "What are you talking about, idiot?" But that's why I'm not so much on Keyshawn Junkins. I don't think he's going to get the volume that we need. Rico Dowdle. I am, on the other hand, interested in Rico Dowdle against the Saints defense. Definitely think it's a great spot for them, right? Oops, why am I? Jonathan Brooks. Wow, there's a name I haven't thought of in a long time. Rico Dowdle against the Saints defense, though. I mean, they're finally going to give him the keys, right? Which we've all wanted. Chuba was pretty much a forgotten guy last week against Green Bay. Rico had another huge game. Now he gets a vanilla matchup, so of course he's going to crap the bed. But we have to assume he's going to continue on this trajectory. The one issue is that you do see him rubbing his quad on the side anytime he gets like a huge workload. So he may be a little bit banged up, and I do have some minor injury worry, but he's playing for his life, man. Playing for his NFL life, playing to prove to people that he is that guy. So I like Rico Dowdle. I love him, actually. I love that man. I love Rico. I cannot roll my R's. But he should be chalk, and I do like that play. Puka Nacua, will be chalky on the wide receivers. And you guys know I have no issues with that. I mean, what issue could I find with it? And again, this San Francisco defense. I'm probably going to be on Kyron, so I don't know if I'm going to get to Puka. I think I was trying to do a Stafford, Puka, and Kyron stack to see if that would work out, and it's just too much cash because you want to bring it back with somebody, and you'd have to bring it back with McCaffrey. I really don't want to play Juwan Jennings. I think he's going to be chalk. Yeah, Juwan Jennings at 4,600. People are just chasing that, man. Shaking my head on that one. The Rams are really solid defense. I know there's no Pearsall, there's no Ayuk. I mean, it's Mac Jones again. Kendrick Bourne might go off. I would assume Mac Jones is under center again, right? Kendrick Bourne may go off. You still have George Kittle there, and of course, it's going to be McCaffrey. So I don't know, man. Jennings is not really on my radar. So too much to do a stack there. But I do like Puka. If you can get a one off on Puka, I think that's fine. Jackson Smith and Najigba. Yeah, I mean, the best wide receiver in football as of so far this season. Yeah, man. No issues there. Amon-Ra St. Brown will be chalk. Yep. Again, one of the top 5 wide receivers in football. Great. Now we start to get interesting. Emeka Egbuka, 7K. Against the team we just said they're not the Patriots of old, right? They're not the Tom Brady defense that was out there, right? I say Tom Brady as if Tom Brady played defense. The Belichick defense, we'll say. Everyone was all over at Emeka Egbuka, and then he kind of crapped the bed a couple of weeks. Let's see, he didn't do so hot. Yeah, been 3 very, very, very down weeks, and everyone's just forgotten about him. Ooh, child. Oh boy, I'm starting to rub my hands together. I like Emeka Egbuka this week, everybody. I like him, y'all. I like him. Zay Flowers, yeah, I'm not going to show you that. I mean, I've already talked. I don't get it, man. 5,900 is not bad for a price point, but I don't see a reason to play Zay Flowers. Here's an interesting guy though that I do like. Deebo Samuel. Still going to be out there. Marcus Mariota is his quarterback. That's the one kind of downside. They're not going to bring Jaden Daniels back. I don't know why we're even entertaining that. I look nasty. I don't think they win enough games between now and then for him to come back. So what are we doing here? I mean, this is kind of crazy. I don't know why they're not rolling him out for the season already. But, no Terry McLaurin, of course. Lou McCaffrey's now on IR. I mean, gosh, they've got Chris Moore, Jalen Lane again. I mean, we've seen these guys. Detroit, their secondary is also baked up. Not very good. So we saw Deebo get some decent work in that last game. Could be leaned down pretty heavily in this one. Haven't seen a big one since week 5, but it's football, y'all. Things do not happen week to week the same way. Things are different from one week to the next. Got to be aware of that. So I love Deebo here. I think Deebo's a fantastic value play. Khalil Shakir is going to be chalk. And I guess this is where I was talking about before, where it's like, who are you going to stack with Josh Allen? And yeah, I mean, Khalil Shakir would probably be my top choice. But there's so many weapons on this team. And you have the risk of, James Cook and Josh Allen just, taking all the goal line stuff. And no, I just don't want to. I don't think I'm not going to have any Khalil Shakir. And then Juwan Jennings. I already talked about Trey McBride for the tight ends. And yeah, I have no issues with that. He is the top price tight end, I believe. Yeah, top price tight end in the slate. Gets a Seattle team, gets a nice matchup here against the Seattle team that is good defensively, but they're not necessarily great against the tight end position. And obviously has a nice rapport with Jacoby Brissett. Getting a lot of work, thrown his way. 9, 13, 11 targets. I believe that's as far back as Jacoby Brissett's tenure this season goes. Yeah, no problems. I think that's fine. George Kittle at 4,500. Interesting. I want to get McCaffrey in. That's really it. I want to play McCaffrey in that game. Probably won't end up with George Kittle this week, but 4,500. It's not a bad price tag. It's not terrible. And then Hunter Henry I already talked about. Really, the red zone targets are there. He should be chalky, and I'm still cool with it. It's fine. From a pivot standpoint, who are we playing that people aren't playing? At the QB position, I do like me some Caleb Williams. Still. Huge week last week, and he didn't even play well. His passing was not on point. Still ended up passing for almost 300 yards. This kid's got incredible talent, incredible athletic talent. It's just the head, the brain needs to get there, right? Some of these decisions that he's making are not the right ones, and sometimes he's not making the decisions quick enough. But I mean, he caught a touchdown in this game. Pretty impressive, right? If he can get if we can get a good, Caleb Williams Rome Odunze week where they throw for a couple touchdowns, man, I would love this. I'm not super confident about it, but I am interested in it. I probably won't end up with a Bears stack this week. I would stack the other side with the Giants, I think, against this really bad Bears defense. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So I'd rather have Jackson Dart, but 6,000 is also not like the best price tag in the world. I mean, he just had a huge one, so his price did come up a little bit. Marcus Mariota, I mean, if we're going to play a lot of Debo, yeah, I could be, coaxed into some Marcus Mariota. He's got that ability to get yards on the ground also. And this defense for the Lions is not scary. Scary. 5,300 though for Marcus Mariota, I think is fine. Not going out of my way to get him, but I think it's okay. Davis Mills for the Houston Texans. Almost said Oilers there. I was like, well, Houston Oilers. That's not even the right sport. Houston Texans. He's only 4,500, so a good budget option for you, I think. Again, had a nice rapport with Nico Collins. I didn't think he played poorly. He gave them opportunities to score. They were in the red zone multiple times with Davis Mills against a good Denver defense. Again, no Patrick Surtain, so it's not elite level. It still is an elite defense. It's just not like so grossly elite that it's like scary. But it is a good defense, and Jacksonville not as good of a defense. I think Davis Mills is fine. So he's definitely in my pool there. And I'm going to mention him because I end up this is my favorite stack once I started, making my lineups. Baker Mayfield, 6,200. You're spending up a little bit at QB, but you're not spending up as much as a 7K, Josh Allen. And we saw early in the season Baker was playing at an MVP level. People were like talking about that. Pretty crazy. Hopefully we get one of these spike weeks like against Seattle where he gets 30 DK points. But I like his weapons. I like Emeka Egbuka. Love him this week. I like Kate Otten, 3,900. I love him. If you really want to go Rashad White, I don't. But 6,400, I'd rather go Rico at 36,300. I'm just going to tell you now. Just don't do that. Tez Johnson, though, interesting also at 4,500. Showcase some real upside there. A couple weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row of double digits, almost a double digits again in week 8. No issues there at all with Tez Johnson. So, given the other weapons that are there, I like Baker Mayfield as well. James Cook is not going to be chalk again. And yeah, I know I said before, he's going to be chalk this week, and you guys don't think he's going to be chalk and blah, blah, blah. This is stupid. Don't play him. But I can't deny, right? I mean, we can't hate people. We have to just go with what we can see. And what we can see is that James Cook is having himself a career year. His usage is way up compared to last year. His snap share is way up. He's that dude. Got paid. He's that dude. Could be in for another ceiling run here against a dreadful Miami defense. So he's definitely on my radar for sure. Not trying to jam him in, but really interesting pivot here. And I think you can stack him with Caleb Williams. DeAndre Swift. Dealing with a personal issue now. Just popped up. I kind of expect him to sit. If that is the case, do not play Kyle Monangai. Do not play the flavor of the week that just played the Bengals defense. Guys, come on. The Bengals. Everybody cooks the Bengals. I like Kyle Monangai. I think he's a really nice downhill power runner. And this Bears offensive line has done a fantastic job. And you can run against the Giants. All these things are good things, but the Giants are still not the Bengals. And Kyle Monangai was what, 4,600 last week? Yep. Jumped $1,000 in salary. What other running backs can you get around that same price? You can get Travis Etienne. You can get Travion Henderson for the same exact price. Get Breece Hall for a few hundred more, for like 400 more. It's kind of not really the same. You can't really go down. Actually, I do like David Montgomery a little bit this week. So 5,000 for David Montgomery. You could get him for 600 less. I'm not playing Monangai. Not doing it. Ownership's going to be through the roof if Swift is ruled out. Not doing it. But Travion Henderson, I do like. I mentioned him. That would be my pivot. I'll play Travion Henderson against this Tampa Bay because I want to play Tampa Bay anyways. So it's a good opportunity to stack. And, yeah, he didn't get the goal line carries and definitely only saw, 14 rushing attempts to Terrell Jennings. But he's definitely the more explosive back. Eventually, they're going to see that. Okay. For the wide receivers, some of the pivots I like Justin Jefferson. Not going to be overly owned. And people do want to play McCarthy. I don't want to play McCarthy as much as I want to just get some pieces of this offense in case they do pop. Jefferson at 7,900 is really nice. It's a step down from the other receivers that we talked about. Amon St. Brown, Jackson Smith-Jigba, Puka Nacua are the ones that are above him. And then below him, there's a clear drop-off in talent. I mean, no knock on Devontae Adams, but he is just kind of a touchdown merchant these days. He catches everything, though. Still very skilled. But Jefferson's elite, right? So I like Justin Jefferson. I think he's a fantastic pivot for us. I also think Jalen Waddle is going to go under-owned on this slate compared to what he's going to be able to do. Still the wide receiver 1 for the Miami Dolphins. And, Tua's shown that he can definitely move the ball through the air. We want Devon Achane, though, so I don't know if I'm going to end up on Waddle a whole lot, to be honest with you guys. Stephon Diggs, already talked about it a little bit, but Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas on this New England team, no Keyshawn Boutte. It's going to be, pretty concentrated to those guys. I do like this game as my second favorite game. It's my favorite game to stack against the Buccaneers. My second favorite team in this game. I like the Buccaneers side better. But Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas are fantastic bringbacks. No issue there at all. Parker Washington. Still going to be the slot receiver here for the Jaguars. Still going to be the top target earner, most likely. Yeah, will he see 9 or 10 targets? Well, there's no Brian Thomas Jr. So, yeah, probably. Yeah. And it's tough Houston defense, no doubt. So that's the only thing that kind of drags us down. But 4,700 for a wide receiver 1 in an offense that has popped before. People were so high on this offense, 2 years ago? Just never really came to fruition, did it? And then here's a big one here that no one's going to be on. But let me tell you guys. On the Giants, one of the reasons I like the Jackson Dart side and the Giants side more than I like the Bears side is because Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton's had 2 or 3 touchdown passes over the last couple of weeks called back due to penalties or what have you. Penalties is really it. 4,300. If you had a touchdown to his score last week, 17 points at 4,100. Ooh, And guess who's going to be most likely on Darius Slayton? Tyreek Stevenson. people need to be owning this guy. This is a guy that you need to have in your lineups. It's the best cost saver at wide receiver on the slate. A fantastic matchup. Very good odds that he reaches the end zone in this game. There is no run game in the Giants anymore now that Cam Skadabu's hurt. You need to play Darius Slayton. Telling you guys right now. For the tight ends, I like Theo Johnson for the same reasons, right? No real threat. There's kind of a concentrated receiving core, and there's no real run game. So I like Theo Johnson also. And then another guy I'll go to that is going to go definitely overlooked, but we saw what he did in a showdown slate last week. Greg Dulcich, the tight end 1 now for the Miami Dolphins. He got targeted 5 times, caught all 5 of them. Didn't reach the end zone, of course, but man, at 2,600, there's no better budget tight end out there. Under 3K? No. Don't think so. I like Greg Dulcich here. Game stacks. I expect the Giants and the Bears to be the most stacked game on this slate. I'm gonna try to avoid it. I might roll one Giant stack out there. If Swift's out, I probably won't have any because I want Swift. That's the part of the Bears I want the most. So I think that's going to be the most popular to be stacked. Buffalo, Miami is another stack people are going to go to, but it's so expensive. Like, again, who are you going to stack on Buffalo? If you want to stack, Josh Allen and James Cook, man, you're using a lot of salary there, and you probably want to bring it back with like a Waddle or an Achane. Oh man, that's really expensive. You're using all of your salary basically. I don't know. Not in love with that one. The 2 games I do like to stack, though, I'll give you my second favorite one first. The Rams and the Giants. You're going to end up stacking the wow, I said Giants. Which sport are we in? The 49ers and the Rams. Not the San Francisco Giants, the San Francisco 49ers. I was just talking about the New York Giants. It also confused me. But you're going to stack the 49ers side of the ball with Mac Jones. And again, I think you're going to want to have Christian McCaffrey. And you can bring it back with Puka Nacua, or you can bring it back with Kyren Williams. You can go George Kittle. There's definitely some ways to go about stacking that game. I like stacking that game. But my absolute favorite game, I've already talked about it, but we'll just talk about it one more time briefly. My absolute favorite game to stack in this one is the Patriots and the Buccaneers. So many good plays in this game. Mayfield, I want to run him out there. That's probably going to be my top QB play this week. We can bring it back with Chavion Henderson. I love it. We want Egbuka for sure. We want Otten. And then for the wide receivers, we can also bring back Demario Douglas. And I've spent, that's only a little bit more than that Buffalo Miami stack. And I've gotten 5 players as opposed to 3. So I like that stack a whole heck of a lot. And you can even do, and you can do the other side too, right? You can do Drake May with Demario Douglas or with Stephon Diggs. Maybe throw in Travion Henderson also. Bring back Egbuka or bring back Otten, I guess. I'd rather bring back Egbuka. I love stacking that game. That's my favorite. I'm going to have multiple lineups with that game stacked. Who are my top plays for the week, though? I don't know why I did that. My top plays for the week in a vacuum where I'm not just crazy stacking one game Devon Achane. Price point versus what his role is going to be versus expected value. Don't think he can be down the slate. I think it's pretty obvious. I want to play Emeka Egbuka. Bit of a forgotten man. But this week, he should go off. Still a very concentrated pass attack because they are so beat up. Tez Johnson has come on, but Sterling Shepard's still there. But it's going to be Emeka getting all of the most important third down passes and stuff coming his way. That's what we saw in the past. No reason for that to change. They had the bye week, so people forgot about him for that reason as well. Deebo Samuel. Deebo should get a lot of work in this one. Should be relied on heavily by Marcus Mariota. Good matchup against a pretty weak secondary in Detroit. All signs point to Deebo. And the last guy that I think is going to be, pretty low owned, probably around 5% ownership at most, probably under that, is going to be Darius Slayton. I'm just so convinced this guy's going to come in the end zone. He's going to reach the end zone. Yeah, I think this is a fantastic play. No more to say about it. We've already talked ad nauseum about it. You want to fill this out? I would like to throw in Baker Mayfield. I would like to throw in Kate Otten because I still want to have that stack. Where is he, Kate Otten? Otten. He's so cheap still. I want to throw in Demario Douglas as a bring back. That's going to leave me so much money. For defense, again, we want to go with the cheapest one that gives us the opportunity to not be negative. We don't want to get Miami, that's for sure. We don't want to go against Detroit's offense, that's for sure. Seattle is absolutely on a roll and just added weapons. Don't want that one. Minnesota versus Baltimore. No, probably not. Baltimore is going to score a whole heck of a lot too. Saints against Carolina is intriguing. We can pop them in. Oh, I do like Rico a whole heck of a lot, though. I want to play Rico, so maybe not. But the Jaguars, Giants against the Bears, no. Jaguars against Houston with Davis Mills in there. We don't have any Houston players. Perfect. And guess what? That leaves us with enough to go get my guy, Christian McCaffrey. Bingo, bongo, let's go, wongo. Or something. I don't know. Let's enter that maybe, though. That's going to do it for us, guys. That is your Week 9 review / first half of the season review. What'd you like? Did you like it? Did you like what you saw? Please do leave me a comment on the video. Follow me on Twitter, X, at DataDrivenOMS, at DataDrivenOMS. And yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know how I did. I want to see, what people are. I want to start a conversation. Let me know what you guys are thinking out there. What do you like? What do you dislike? How can I make the show better? What are you guys looking for? Would love to hear from you guys. So until next time, everybody, hey, go get that money.